How are we doing, Kansas Jayhawks fans? This is your host, Nick Rondeau, bringing at you some Jayhawks Daily content. First off, I want to apologize for not having a video yesterday of the breakdown of the Kansas Baylor game, but we've got it today. We've also got a split one where we will be previewing the Colorado game tonight as well, so we've got a little double for you. And if you haven't subscribed already and you appreciate the Jayhawks content, would love to get another subscriber out of you. And I also like to take time to, you know, mention and appreciate and thank and hopefully pray that Bill Self is okay. We saw he was going to the hospital yesterday. It was apparently just out of an abundance of caution. Doesn't look like he'll be coaching tonight versus Colorado, but we do hope that he's healthy and he'll be back with the team soon. Obviously, never want anything to go poorly, and he has been, had a couple of issues over the years, with his health, but this one seems like just in case, just being safe. So we hope that Bill Self will be okay. But getting into our trouncing of Baylor, yes, I'm going to use it. We absolutely dominated them, 80-62, and I think we is the general term. It was Darren Peterson, it was Flory Badunga, and the rest of the team just showed up to watch. And I don't mean that in any bad way. Everyone played great. They, if that's a game plan, that's how you build off of it. Everyone's throwing lobs to Flory. It takes multiple people to, make him really get involved, and it was just so fun to watch. I mean, this team is back. They look very much legit. I also want to give incredible amount of credit to Cameron Carr and Tunde Yesufu. Oh my goodness, they're ball players. I mean, they 24 points for Carr, 20 for Yesufu. I mean, Cameron Carr looked like they were single-handedly going to pull them back in the first half, and then the beginning of the second half started, and we took that 20-point lead, and we did not give it up. And they put up an unbelievable performance, shooting 5 of 8, Cameron Carr, and 3 of 8 from three-point line. Unbelievable from them, but just such a great game overall. And this is the one that it put everyone who's not a Kansas fan, I'll watch that. Darren Peterson is him. Darren Peterson is the guy to worry about. So we're going to get into it. Darren Peterson and Flory Badunga combining for 49 points. Darren Peterson with 26 in 23 minutes, and Flory Badunga with 23 points. I mean, this is exactly what I was calling for. If you watch the preview for the Baylor game, I said we got to stop their third scorer. Cameron Carr and Yesufu, they're going to get their points. They're going to be amazing. They're going to get their 20s. You got to stop their third scorer. Well, their third scorer only had 9 points. Besides that, 5. We stopped that. And another big key, I said, get Flory involved early. And on the first play, offensively in the game, we set a backdoor screen, throw it over the top to Flory. He gets his points, and that was just a continuation. 14 field goal attempts from Flory Badunga is exactly what I wanted. It's what we've been begging for. No more of this 6 crap. Get him involved, because when he's involved, he gets dangerous. It flows to him on the defensive end. Flory Badunga had 5 blocks, 11 rebounds, including 2 offensive. And when he's a dominant big in the paint, when he really is, they've got to jump. They've got to try to foul him. They've got to do anything. And at the very least, they have to pull a help defender. There was a beautiful play with we were still up 19 at the time, but it was in the second half with 10 or 12 to go. Just takes it right underneath the basket. Help defender comes, passes it right to the corner to Elmarco Jackson, and Elmarco knocks down the 3 in the corner. It was just a wonderful performance from Flory and obviously from Darren Peterson. I mean, it put the whole world on watch to watch him start the game and just take over. Just an absolute takeover. So smooth. This is exactly what we were talking about when the season started. He's a 3-level scorer. You can see him catch and shoot flaws. 2 of 4 from 3. He said, you know what, I'm going to do it from all angles today. 2 of 4 from 3, and they were clean, buttery 3-pointers. And then you've got the dribble drive where he gets fouled for an and-1 right around the rim. Or you've got the mid-range shot where, I love Gus Johnson on the call. Ball player. I mean, that's what he is. He's a ball player. He is so talented at what he does. He can hit you in the fade. He can hit you in a spin cycle. He can finish around the rim. I don't know the only thing Darren Peterson can't do is just stay on the court the entire time, but He's working on it. He's getting healthier. He's building back to that point. And when he is as effective as he was and dominant, we didn't need him for the full game. We didn't. He didn't need to come back in at points, and he did come back in, and he played a little bit more, and he scored another. Cut some crazy buckets. I mean, Darren Peterson, 11 for 13. You expect that from Flory, 11 for 14. But 11 for 13 from your shooting guard, who is just, grinding, figuring it all out. 3 assists, no turnovers. Just a beautiful game from him. That was easily Darren Peterson, I would say, his best game in, a Jayhawk uniform. The NC State game, he played great, and he's put up, a 30-point performance already in this first half of this year. I mean, we're seeing it. In the month of January, Darren Peterson is playing amazing basketball. Can everyone else kind of help out, show up, and contribute so that we keep playing good basketball? And Flory decided to. He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna figure it up." He forced 7 turnovers. He picked up the slack and he said, "I'm gonna help you out, Darren. I'm gonna do everything I can." And you love it because that 2-man game is electric. And it doesn't have to be a 2-man game with just Darren Peterson, because then Trey White starts a 2-man game with Flory, and he slips under and he throws the lob. Then Melvin goes with a 2-man game. I mean, it's just when Flory Badunga is at his finest, he can help everyone's basketball game. Did Trey White play the best game of his life? No, he was 1 for 8 with 6 points. But in that one basket, it was following it when we were up by 20 with 6 minutes to go, getting an offensive rebound and putting it back in, because his effort is always there. So you have to appreciate what he does. Even when it doesn't look in the stat sheet of his prettiest game, he's still helping this team win. He's still doing everything he can. Bryson Tiller, slightly disappointing, but again, he's contributing. Even when Flory's playing so well, it can open up other people's games, and maybe you can contribute one way or another. Bryson Tiller definitely has got some room to grow, but 3 blocks on the defensive end, you got to appreciate it. He's 7 rebounds. These are 3 offensive. These are things that you can definitely build on, and I think that's something that where he's going to continue to do. We had that early game in the season against UNC where everyone thinks this guy's going to be X factor, star-studded. He's the guy. It could be anyone, but if he can contribute, then that's all we need. Just a little bit of contribution from him, but. Unbelievable, performance. Very excited to see what this team did. 42 points in the paint. Just puts a smile on my face compared to their 18. Just an excellent performance all around from this team. We got to see, clear out the bench. And shout out Jaden Dawson, where, yes, in the first half, it looked like the lead was slipping away. The defense was kind of lacking a little bit. We really picked it up in the second half, allowing only 25 points compared to 37 in the first half for them. But just that Jaden Dawson 3 where Darren Peterson just passed it to him, who comes fresh off the bench and just right in rhythm, shoots it, nails it. This is exactly what we needed. Reclaim that lead right before going into half. And, you have to appreciate what he can do in the limited minutes he's getting. But Elmarko Jackson, again, another excellent performance from him. Jamari McDowell played a little bit less, and he's contributing. He's doing everything he can, but it looks like this is a really 5 heavy lineup or 6 heavy lineup with the addition of 7 and 8 occasionally. But still a lot to grow, a lot to learn from this bench, what they're going to be able to help us out in the future. Melvin Council, a fine performance. 5 assists to 1 turnover is something you can write home about. 0 for 3 from 3-point. Not every single time is he going to be lighting it up from the 3-point line. But in a game where Darren Peterson and Flory are really cooking for us, we don't need Melvin Council to have, his biggest, best game. We just need a great defender, and he was doing that for sure. A couple of, I would say, a really nice steal where he kind of pokes it away, starts a run in the second half. Just something to really put the game away. So got to love what this team was doing. They were doing it at a very high rate, shooting over 50% from the floor. We didn't have a great 3-point shooting night, but we didn't need it because Darren Peterson and Flory Badunga carried us home. So shout out to Baylor. They put up a great performance, but not good enough. Not good enough to take down us. Okay, so now to kind of preview, yes, because we do have another game tonight. And yes, I again apologize for missing yesterday's. Would have been a breakdown and then a split, but we're going right into it. So we're going to preview. We're playing the Colorado Buffs tonight. We're going to go, on the road. It's going to be 11 p.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. Central, and we're going on ESPN because we got the later game because we're going West Coast. And Colorado's kind of struggling, I would say, recently. They've dropped 3 in a row to good teams. Definitely can't take anything away. Unfortunately, they kind of, I wouldn't say got blown out, but about a double-digit loss most recently to West Virginia. They've been all over the place, and they definitely had a much better non-conference schedule coming into the Big 12. They're not exactly performing at their highest level, I would say, but they can always turn it around, and there's no reason to ever take a team lightly, especially one in this conference, and a team that's pretty hungry, I would say. Definitely hungry, and late game definitely a little more towards their favor. But yeah, 2-3 in conference for them. We're only 3-2. We can't let that. You can't let that flip. Can't let it switch. We got to really throttle them and keep bringing it to them. But they're a good team, well coached, and let's get into it. A little preview. So, a couple of their players, and I find it most interesting, and it's kind of like a J.R. Smith type of thing. He plays some of the most minutes on the game on their team, yet comes off the bench and is their leading scorer. So it's very impressive. But we're starting right out. Isaiah Johnson, their freshman guard. He's 6'1". He started one game, and I think he must have just not loved it and said, "Coach, I need to come off the bench, just put me in within, 2 minutes." And we will be seeing that. I guarantee within a few minutes, he will be subbed in immediately. You'll be like, well, why are they subbing so fast? Well, that's his game plan. He's a very good three-point shooter, shooting about 44%, but he's excellent finishing around the basket. Very good, finisher, finished through contact, could definitely create his own shot. And it's just impressive. He was only a 3-star recruit. He kind of took Colorado as his best offer, kind of bet on himself. He could have gone to a much smaller program and led there for sure. Plenty of offers in California where he's from, but said, I'm going to the biggest one I got. That's Colorado, and he's shown it. Leading scorer coming off the bench, very good player. Next up, we've got Barrington Hargress, another 6'1" guard, junior for them. He's was a top scorer over played 2 years at UC Riverside. Definitely had 20 points a game there. Was super talented, but he's also a really good facilitator. Definitely a really good facilitator, and he's had a big jump in his three-point percentage, shooting over 50% this year. Unlimited takes, I must add, but definitely a threat and probably going to be some of their more primary ball handlers. So we've got to figure out with him. He's got 5 assists a game, so got to limit him, Melvin, see what we can kind of produce. Continuing on, we've got Sebastian Ranchik and a 6'11" sophomore from Slovakia. And he's a returner. That's another thing. They've got a couple of returners, a little bit of tenure for their team. But he's a stretch big man. He's 6'11", but he's definitely not afraid to shoot the 3 ball. He's a pretty good three-point shooter. Not great, but he can stretch the floor for sure. And he's also not exactly the best rebounder. Typically, a stretch man, you're going to be a little bit more outside the paint, so you're sacrificing a couple of rebounds. Seems like he might be doing that a little bit. So, maybe Bryson Tiller kind of, addresses him and can really establish. But don't foul out, Bryson. Do not foul out. We can't afford that. Continuing on, you've got Bangor Doc, a 7-foot junior who's 3 years all at Colorado. He's got his most starts, this year. He's a full-time starter for them. Had a lot of starts for them last year as well, and he can shoot the 3-point ball. So don't just leave him wide open. He's not excellent, but he's not afraid to shoot it. Definitely a huge rebounder for them. Just swallows them all up, and a solid blocker and pretty good passer in screens. I will say you got to watch out for him. He gets a couple assists a game, which is pretty surprising from a 7-footer, but definitely comfortable passing from the screens and some leading intos, but very solid blocker. Got to respect him. Flory's going to have a tough time down low for sure with a 6'10", a 6'11", and a 7-footer. Continuing on, we've got Alon McCauley, a 6'9" freshman from Israel. Comes off the bench, good rebounder, contributes a lot in the second chance, gets some offensive rebounds for sure. Just kind of a do-it-all kind of player, but they're a deep team. They play about 9 guys solidly, I would say. So continuing on to that, we're going to go Elijah Malone. He's their last starter, I believe. 6'10" senior starter, yes, second-year returner. Kind of as a bit of a fouler, but like I said, they got a 6'11", they got a 7-footer, and they got a 6'10" guy, and they try to start most of them. So like I don't believe they will. I'm guessing maybe Doc might come off the bench. Who knows? Just because we don't play an exorbitantly big lineup. But Elijah Malone is their starter. He comes out pretty quick, but a lot of it could just because he tends to foul a little bit. But good rebounder for sure. Decent shot blocker. Definitely affects shots at the rim. Continuing on, we've got Felix Kosaras, a 6'6" sophomore from Quebec. He's another starter, actually the last one. Just does a little bit of everything. A couple of rebounds, a couple of assists. Not afraid to facilitate the ball a little bit. Fine shooter, but nothing to really write home about. And last up, we've got Josiah Sanders, a 6'5" freshman, great rebounder, cannot shoot. Not a shooter, leave number 5 open. He will be a guy that we can definitely, allow from that 3-point line. And if he makes one tonight and, I look like a fool, I look like a fool. But the stats don't lie most times, and he is not an excellent 3-point shooter, nor just a great shooter kind of overall. So definitely look for him to pass, maybe finish around the rim, but make him have a jump shot when he comes on the floor. But Colorado as a team, they're a pretty good defensive rebounding team. They allow, a very few amount of offensive boards, so they definitely clean up the glass. They can secure about 82% of their defensive rebounds, so, that's top, I think 30 or 40 in the nation, pretty solid. They force a decent amount of turnovers, forcing about 12 to 13 a game. That's very impressive for a team, and they got a very good assist to turnover ratio to kind of boast about. And they can score the ball, 83, 84 points a game. That's about like top 60, 70 in the nation. They've definitely got something cooking. We got to make sure it's not something good to cook. They've got a tall lineup, as I said, 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot. Flory Badunga, not the easiest time for it. Maybe we've got to really shoot the ball well. Maybe Melvin's really got to turn that 3-point ball around. And what do I think it's going to be? How do I think it's going to go? Well, obviously, I think Kansas is going to keep cruising. I think we're going to beat the Buffs. I think 82-72. I think, honestly, it's going to stay a tight game, and I think maybe we pull away a little bit at the end, but we've got to pull away. You have to. You cannot stay tight and force, a potential, game-winning shot type of situation because we've seen those before. In teams that are below you, in some ways, this team is below us, but they're a great team. Can't write it down as a win in the win column yet. Haven't played them yet. They're a great team, but I think Darren Peterson stays hot. I think we're playing for Bill Self. Like I said, I don't believe he's going to be coaching tonight. We're playing for him. I'm hoping, this is why you brought in all these assistant coaches. Jacques Vaughn has really stepped up, just being, a very smart and, kind of X's and O's guy for us that kind of gives a lot of good leadership. I love Jacques Vaughn, obviously. We got Curtis Townsend, who just got, I think, like assistant coach nominee, in the nation. Gotta love him. There's so much tenure and appreciation for what we've got on the bench. We've obviously got Jeremy Case, who the associate head coach. Like, we've got a lot of people that there's a lot of trust. There's a reason Bill's got this system in place in case something terrible or bad happens. We've got people to help him out, and everyone appreciates and loves, this coaching staff. I think Flory stays hot for sure. He's going to have a tough time because the rim protection is going to be good. The rebounding is going to be tough, but we got to out-rebound them. We have to out-rebound them. They're a good rebounding team. You got to out-rebound them, and I think we need Melvin and Trey White to step up. They kind of got to take a game off scoring-wise. We need him to step up again. Darren Peterson, stay hot. Let's get another 20 points from you. Really establish that 3-point ball early, and maybe a bench player goes off. We'll say one bench player gets us double-digit points. Is it Elmarco? Is it Jamari? Is it Jamarco? That's what people are calling him because the combination of them is, so impressive sometimes. Who knows? I love them both. I think we're gonna have a very good performance, but some people can get sleepy out west. These games, they're difficult. With the introduction into the expanded conference standings and just conference play. It's a lot harder. You get some sleepy games sometimes. We got to figure out how we're going to do it. We got to do it early, and we got to keep this winning streak alive. So do it for Bill, do it for DP, do it for everyone's hopes, do it for this team, do it for the Jayhawks fans, do it for us. Maybe for us for once. But again, thank you guys so much for watching the content. Apologize for not having it yesterday. But I just, love to put out this content for you. Let me guys what you thought about the Baylor game. Let me know what you think about tonight's game. Super excited to watch again some more Jayhawks basketball. How can we not be excited? Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go. Rock chalk. Go Jayhawks.